Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this short online lecture organized by the Faculty of Education of the University of Hradec Králové. My name is Mikuláš Zvánovec, and I am honored to have this possibility to share with you the current state of my ongoing postdoc research, to share with you some of my thoughts on methodology and theoretical framework, as well as to present some other results connected with the research activity at the faculty. Well, the title of the research project is called Civil School Associations in the First Czechoslovak Republic between 1918 and 1938. It tackles with a very difficult era where the civil society really encountered a big momentum. Many organizations gained their biggest growth exactly after 1918. The object of this research are mainly associations which declared themselves to be national or nationalist and engage themselves in the field of education and schooling. Many of these organizations created, established, maintained primary schools and kindergartens throughout this interwar period, and they continued their activity from the late Habsburg prehistory, we can say. These are the organizations which are involved are, for example, Ústřední matice školská, or the German Deutsche Kulturverband, or the Polish Macierz Szkolna. This research is actually focused on a very sensitive topic of the national minority policy or politics in the Czechoslovak era. It's focused on the topic of nationalization. It researched these processes of the nationalization. The Czechoslovak state has been for decades criticized for nationalization processes, but the contradictory nationalization processes were rather overseen. So what this research wants to do is actually the comparison of these mostly invisible or secret processes which should influence the field of schooling in the national or nationalist sense. And I also want to argue that these organizations were crucial for the political development of the Czechoslovak state. So here I want to introduce some research goals. As you can see, the research is positioned within the broader context of the political and social history of the first Czechoslovak Republic. This study also wants to revisit the classical Czechoslovak history from the perspective of the civil society, from the perspective of very wide space between the state and the citizen, with all of perspective connections and networks. It wants to reveal the processes and actors in the form of organizations, and very well known for their nationalist agenda, very well known for their national activism. And so the goal is to research how these organizations actually could
exert their influence on the national policies, on the national minority questions, on the people on the very local level, on the parents of the school children, and which networks were actually used for these purposes, and so what was actually the role of these organizations within the first Czechoslovak Republic. The role of the state is here crucial. After 1918, it is the state which actually get the power about the national minority schooling to some extent. This is also what I want to show, how schooling and education played actually the major role, not only in the inner politics, in the domestic politics, but also on the international level.
Here I would like to present some of the outputs in form of publications. During my project, there were two reviews which were published, and one edited volume on regional history, and two big articles in impacted or indexed journals which are currently in press. In the last few years, I also presented my research on some conferences or lectures, mostly in the Czech Republic and mostly with an international character. Not to forget the international workshop organized by the Herder Institute in Pilsen in 2023, or the international workshop on AI in humanities in Prague in 2025. Since 2019, I have been organizing or co-organizing international conferences in Brno as an executive director of the Bernard Bolzano Society. And I'm also proud to announce that this activity and this institution, Bernard Bolzano Society, was awarded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic for contribution to diplomacy in this year, 2025. During my research, I also made connection to docent Michek, and I became a part or a member of his research team, and we applied for a project called The Role of Teachers in the Czech Society between 1869 and 1948. And last but not least, very good extension of my research is also the project History of Schoolhouses on the National Pedagogical Museum and Library of Jan Amos Komenský in Prague, which is a project where we examine or research the local school histories, and the database already contains many of such short texts about schools all over the Czech Republic. So now let's move to the question, what have I actually researched so far? I hope I can already deliver some convincing results of my research, which lie from my point of view mainly in the description of the nationalization processes of the field of schooling and education. But it's not just the process of the nationalization. The next level, which can be observed very well in this study, is the empowerment of the state in the field of national minority questions, where these topics rather conducted by private initiatives, organizations, or politics. It is the states after 1918 which actually are active in this field. They allocate all the, not all, but a lot of state finances in this direction to support the national schooling, not just in the perspective state, but also abroad. We can see the state authority is getting more and more important, whereas on the other side, the local level, the power of the local level diminishes or disappears. We can observe these processes on many of occasions and political events throughout the Czechoslovak period, starting all the way with 1918, 1919, with school boycotts, with school attacks or attacks on the school buildings. We can see restrictions on non-Czechoslovak schools. We can observe school closures, which affected, for example, many German schools. And as a consequence, we can also observe a big engagement of German associations to revise these closures. And we can also see some successes when the Czechoslovak Administrative Court revised many of these decisions from the revolutionary era, we can say. But also the Czechoslovak law on the state protection from 1923 involves a big engagement of nationalist organizations, again with schooling in the center of the interest. And last but not least, also the political negotiations in 1930s show the role of schooling for nationalism, which was really crucial, and the influences by Sudeten German Party of Konrad Henlein were also actually very much supported by Hitler's Germany. But also here in this area, in this problematic late 1930s, show us also the role of these organizations, not just in black, white colors. It shows, for example, that the German Kulturverband was the last organization which was not under Henlein's influence, and it also shows some good relation actually to the Czech government circles, and there were surprisingly also negotiations which involved these organizations on the political level. So this all these events actually show us the big involvement of these associations and the major role of schooling in the Czechoslovak period. As for my contribution to the faculty, I am glad that I can consult and cooperate closely with some faculty members. I'm especially thankful to Professor Tomáš Petráček, with whom I can consult my topic. And I'm also glad to cooperate with Docent Michek on our common common project on the role of the teacher in the Czech society. I hope I can bring some interesting connections to the scientific institutions abroad, mainly in Austria and Germany, as I am since many years interested in these cross-border Czech-German topics. I also tried to focus on the publication outputs to make them as relevant as possible, to publish as in impacted or indexed journals. I had some paper presentations also for the students of the faculty, and I hope there is also a base for the continuation of my research after the end of this project. As I already mentioned, I appreciate very much the cooperation with some scientific institutions in Germany and Austria. Here I would like to highlight the institution Collegium Carolinum in Munich, which is a place where I always can gain historical material, secondary literature, and I also enjoy the access to the biographical database, which is run by this association or this institute. I also appreciate the cooperation with Österreichische Landsmannschaft in Vienna very much, which is a very small institution, maybe not really well known within the scientific or environment or the environment of historians, but they are very precious for me with the archival material from the provenience of the German associations. During my research stays, I also made some contacts to local archives or national archives in Austria, Germany, but also Slovakia and Poland, and I'm also going to make a research trip to Hungary. As an executive director of Bernard Bolzano Society, I'm also in regular contacts with foreign NGOs in the East Central European states and Germany or Austria. This is also a scientific network which is very useful when organizing the conferences in Brno. So I hope this is everything which is important to mention, and if you had some questions, I would be happy to respond. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a nice day.